Have you ever passed by a house that gives you chills just by looking at it? The kind of place everyone in town avoids, the one rumored to be haunted. I thought it was just a story until I went inside. By the time I got out, I wasn't sure I had really left. Watch the full video to hear what happened, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you've ever dared to enter a place like this. I grew up in a small town in the US where rumors traveled faster than the wind. There was one house everyone avoided, a huge decaying Victorian on Elm Street. It had been abandoned for decades. Neighbors said strange things happened there. Screams in the night, shadowy figures glimpsed in the windows, doors slamming on their own. My friends and I, of course, thought it was all nonsense, until that summer. I was 16, and my best friend, Jake, dared me to go inside. He said, "Just check it out. If you're scared, nothing happens." I laughed, but deep down, I didn't want to be the coward of the group. We arrived around dusk. The house looked worse than I imagined. Windows were shattered, the front porch sagged, and the paint had peeled away like the skin of some dead creature. The air smelled damp and rotten. I took a deep breath and stepped onto the porch. The door creaked as I pushed it open. Inside, it was dark. Dust hung in the air like tiny floating ghosts. The wooden floorboards groaned with every step. Our flashlights barely cut through the blackness. We explored the ground floor first. The living room had old furniture covered in white sheets. When I lifted one, I found a chair overturned, as if someone had been sitting there moments ago. My stomach dropped. Jake laughed nervously, but his voice sounded hollow. Then we heard it, a soft whisper from upstairs. It wasn't clear, just a syllable I couldn't recognize, but it sounded like it was calling my name. Seth. My blood ran cold. Jake wanted to leave, but I felt a strange pull toward the staircase. Each step creaked like it was complaining under my weight. At the top, the hallway stretched into darkness. Doors lined both sides, most hanging crooked on their hinges. We heard scratching, low, slow, deliberate. It came from the last door on the left. I wanted to turn back, but curiosity got the better of me. I pushed the door open. The room was empty, except for a small, dust-covered mirror on the far wall. I shone my flashlight on it. At first, it reflected the room normally. Then, my reflection blinked before I did. I froze. Behind me, I felt movement. Turning slowly, I saw nothing, but when I looked back at the mirror, the reflection wasn't just me. It was someone else, a woman in a tattered dress, hair over her face, standing right behind me. I screamed. Jake ran in, trying to pull me away, but the door slammed shut. We were trapped. The scratching became pounding, coming from the walls themselves. Shadows moved in ways that didn't make sense, and I could hear breathing, hundreds of breaths all around us. We tried the windows, locked. We tried the door, stuck. Panic set in. I could feel my heart thudding in my chest. The mirror, the woman, she seemed to follow us no matter where we moved. Then we heard whispering from the ceiling. "Get out, stay, forever." The words weren't loud, but they filled the room like ice crawling along my spine. Jake grabbed my arm, and I could see terror in his eyes. This wasn't a dare anymore. This was real. In desperation, I remembered my flashlight. I threw it at the mirror. The glass shattered with a sound like a scream. Silence followed, thick and heavy. Slowly, the door creaked open, and we ran without looking back. Outside, the air felt normal again. The streetlights flickered as we caught our breath. Our legs shook, lungs burning. I looked at Jake. Neither of us said a word. We didn't have to. We never spoke about that night again. But sometimes, when I walk past Elm Street, I feel a gaze on me. Sometimes I see her face in a broken window, and I know the house is still waiting, waiting for the next visitors, waiting for someone curious enough to enter and never leave. In 1987, an exorcism was stopped halfway.
The demon was never destroyed, only trapped. For 38 years, it waited in silence. In 2025, the ritual began again. They say the most terrifying thing in this world is not a ghost and not a demon, but a mistake that is never corrected. Today, I'm going to tell you a story sealed inside church records, a file marked with just one warning: never to be reopened. But in 2025, that file opened itself. In a small town in Connecticut, there stood an old farmhouse. People said that at night, lights appeared in its windows, even though no one lived there. Sometimes, neighbors heard a single voice cut through the silence of the night: "Finish the rites." Police called it a rumor. The church chose to forget. But inside the house, strange symbols still covered the walls. Pages of the Bible lay scattered upside down, as if something inside was still waiting. Paranormal investigator Ethan Cross received an envelope with no return address. Inside was an old cassette tape and a file. Case 109, Miller House. Status: incomplete. When the tape played, there were screams in the background. A priest cried out, "Stop the ritual. If it's completed, we will all die." The tape suddenly cut off. Ethan understood immediately. This wasn't a normal haunting. This was an unfinished exorcism. In the same town lived a 19-year-old girl named Anna. Every night she had the same dream: the farmhouse and a shadow calling to her, "You are the one who can complete me." One night, Anna woke up screaming. On her mirror, a message appeared by itself: "Last rites." From that moment on, Anna began to change. There was no fear in her eyes anymore, only something else. Ethan and his wife Maya met a retired priest. He finally told them the truth. In 1987, a demon was summoned inside the Miller house by accident. An exorcism began, but it was stopped halfway. Why? Because the demon whispered to a priest, "Do not finish the ritual, and I will let you live." The priest agreed. The demon was sealed, but not completely. It survived inside people, waiting, watching. That night, when Anna was taken to the farmhouse, the doors locked themselves. The air grew heavy. The wind stopped. Anna's voice changed. 38 years I have waited. The walls began to shake. Ethan realized the truth. Either the demon would be sealed forever, or no one would leave alive. He began the last rites, ancient Latin words, a forbidden symbol, and a sacrifice. Morning came. The house was silent. Anna was alive. The demon was gone, but Ethan never returned. In the final moment, Maya looks into a mirror. Written on the glass were the words, "The rites are complete, but the sacrifice still lives." Maybe some souls never truly leave this world.